Considered the birthplace of civilization, Egypt is a destination full of magic. No other destination offers up 5 millennia of history, architecture, archaeology, and art like Egypt does. Egypt attracts millions of visitors each year, offering a journey through history. Now it's our turn as part of our trip with Viking cruises and land tours. We kicked off a massive journey through Egypt and want to share with you all the remarkable sights, but we think you will get the most value out of it if we place it in context. We are going to time travel through the history of Egypt, and with each significant event, we will take you to the real-life current location of what remains today. We had an incredible adventure, and you're going to see everything we saw and did. When you finish with this video, you will know exactly what you need to see and why during your next trip to Egypt.
Hey, Michael.
Hey.
We're a few days away from our big trip.
Yeah.
What are you most looking forward to?
I am so looking forward to going to Egypt. We have been planning this for years, and actually we booked this trip, in 2018, I think, and of course with COVID and everything, we couldn't go. So I'm looking forward to seeing Egypt. I'm especially excited about the adventure that we did where we extended in Jordan for a week and we're going out to the desert. Overall, it's going to be a great trip, and everybody that I know that's been and had an amazing time, and I'm looking forward to us doing it too.
Let's start with the first significant Egyptian pharaoh, who was named King Narmer. He was the first king to unify Egypt, kicking off the golden period of time in history called the Old Kingdom. This first great pharaoh founded Memphis as the first capital of ancient Egypt. The ruins of this ancient capital are located 20 kilometers south of modern-day Cairo, the starting point for nearly any journey through Egypt. With more than 20 million people living in the metro area, Cairo has an energetic pulse to it, to put it lightly. You walk out the door in Cairo and are greeted suddenly with 1,000 vehicles weaving through each other like ants, and the sound of hundreds of horns honking.
We're overlooking Cairo right now from the mosque, and as you can see, it's a huge city. There's about 20 million people here, and we knew it was big. We knew it was this big, and you get a really big appreciation for that from way up here. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of cars, a lot of traffic, a lot of buildings, a lot of history, and a little bit of smog today. It comes and goes, but with a city this big, you get some of that. So it's going to be interesting to explore, and we're looking forward to you coming along with us.
We stayed in 2 hotels while here. First, we stayed at Fairmont City, but unfortunately, we can't recommend it to you. We later transferred over to the Intercontinental and loved it. It had great rooms and a wonderful buffet breakfast. We should note that there are 2 very distinct Egypts, one for those who live in the crowded cities, and then there is life in the rural areas. Life in the agricultural areas looks hard and poverty seems high, but we also found a lot of smiling faces at the same time. Let's get back to Cairo and Old Memphis. It was home to the great necropolis called Saqqara, which was a popular burial place for pharaohs of the Old Kingdom, as well as for other noblemen. The first great stone building in Egypt is the Step Pyramid of Saqqara. It's considered the first pyramid and is a must-see on your visit.
We're out here in front of this beautiful pyramid, and this is one of the first ones ever built. And you'll find that, like we've learned, they learned as they went along, and the pyramids actually improve over several hundred years. This is one of the first ever built, and you'll notice it's in steps with pieces on top of each other. So it's really an interesting study into what we're going to see and show you later in the Giza pyramids about the progression of the pyramids. This is an awe-inspiring experience. Getting to go inside, seeing this in real life is nothing like seeing it in a book or on a video, and we're just having such an amazing time getting to experience this, and it's really a little overwhelming in the best way.
Watch your step carefully, please. Watch your step carefully.
Archaeologists have discovered additional well-preserved and colorfully decorated tombs that were dug beside the pyramid at Saqqara. We got to go inside 2 of them. Yeah.
Come this way. Watch the head. Watch the head. Be careful.
We're inside a pyramid. This is amazing. You should see these walls. They're carved. We had to come through a really tight area to get here. And we're inside standing now, and this is amazing.
They're amazingly detailed still.
See this, the blue color? Here's the roof. This is the blue. Oh yeah. Light 1 second, light. Okay. Here, this is sarcophagus. This is sarcophagus. Sarcophagus is basalt. And this is sarcophagus basalt from Sudan. It is the Mummy Museum. Carbon. See? Yeah. See this? Yes. And here's the statue of the king. Yes. One more statue here. See this?
Oh yeah, it's coming to this.
Okay?
Yes.
Both okay? Okay?
Oh my God, we're inside the pyramid. We just visited the tomb, and now we're on the other side. We're literally inside here, and this is the most amazing thing I think I've ever done. You really get a sense of history and being in here. You were in this sacred space, and it is cool.
A statue of King Dosher, who was the owner of the Step Pyramid, is displayed at the Cairo Museum of Egyptian Antiquities. It is thought to be the oldest life-size statue from Egypt. The Museum of Egyptian Antiquities in Cairo is the oldest archaeological museum in the Middle East, and up until recently housed the largest collection of pharaonic antiquities in the world. We toured it and loved it. A statue of Ranifer, who was a high priest at the time, was found in Saqqara and is currently in the Cairo Museum as well. The statue of an ancient Egyptian scribe and priest who lived around the same time is also there. Despite his rank not being among the highest, he is well known due to his famously fine wooden statue.
We're inside the Egyptian Museum, and this place is really, really huge, and it's very historic. The building itself is really gorgeous. There's a huge collection here. You've probably heard they're moving most of this collection to the new Gem Museum, and that's not open yet. But after they finish moving everything to the Gem, this thing will still get refilled with things that they've got in storage. There's a ton of stuff to see, and obviously a lot of stuff you've heard about is from the King Tut collection. Still a lot of stuff here. Much of that's going over to the Gem. But in addition to King Tut, thousands, literally 35,000 objects to see here. So much that we had a tour and a guide that was great, but I'd even recommend you get a private tour if you can. There's so much here to see. And with the crowds and wanting to see certain things that you want to see that maybe others don't, and vice versa, getting a private guide would be a great way to go here.
Another major hub for museum-going tourists visiting Cairo is the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization that is devoted to the entirety of Egyptian history. It showcases Egyptian civilization from prehistoric times all the way through to present day and is the new permanent home of the nation's famous royal mummy collection.
We're at the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization. It's a new museum here in Cairo. It's a really modern, complex, really cool architecture. It's supposed to have a nice collection, and we're going to go explore that now.
With bow and arrow in his hand, but what you actually see behind him, with one arm under his armpit and another arm under his elbow, is the god of war, the god Manto.
Wow, let me tell you, this museum was amazing. If you get a chance to come to Cairo, come here. We were excited about coming because it's a new museum and we'd heard a lot of good things about it and the collection. Opened in 2021, but let me tell you, it's a hidden gem. We went all over this place and had a great explanation from our tour guide, but then we got to go downstairs, and the surprise that we had that is still blowing us away is all the royal mummies that they have here. There's at least probably 20 royal mummies downstairs that you can see perfectly preserved. Teeth, hair, skin, everything. It's just crazy. It's the who's who of the kings and queens of ancient Egypt, thousands of years old, displayed with their mummy cases and other things that were found with them. And then you get the total story of them, and you're sitting there looking at them. This was really one of the highlights of the trip, and frankly, we barely just kind of bumped into it. So I'd highly recommend, if you get to come to Cairo, you come here and spend plenty of time with the mummies. It was awesome.
The Cairo Museum will be replaced in scale by the Grand Egyptian Museum. At nearly 500,000 square meters and with an expected cost of more than $1 billion, the gem will be the world's largest museum dedicated to a single civilization. It will be located at the Giza Plateau outside of Cairo. Giza is a plateau which includes the pyramids of Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure, and the Great Sphinx.
We're here at the Great Pyramids in Giza. This is going to be an adventure we've waited for our whole lives, so you can come along with us now.
I don't know if you can hear me. The wind's really strong here on the plateau, and it is absolute chaos around the Great Pyramids, but nonetheless, it's really amazing to be here. It's really majestic, it's magical, and it's something I've looked forward to all of my life. So despite all of this, and maybe it adds to the experience, this is a great thing to be doing. Cool experience, huh?
Really cool.
It's so neat to be here. It's kind of chaotic, though. I mean, there's a lot happening.
Just a little.
But it's still nonetheless a great experience to be here on the plateau and right in front of the pyramids. There's camels everywhere.
There's so much going on.
People from all over the world.
Believe me, you're not alone out here with the pyramids, but it's the coolest thing ever.
Hey! The Great Pyramid is the final resting place of the pharaoh Khufu, who ruled in the 25th century BCE. Crazy, huh? It is the oldest and tallest of the three pyramids. It's made up of about 2.3 million blocks of limestone and not much else. climbed up on top of the Great Pyramid. Apparently that's allowed. I don't want to disturb anything.
They told us that we were okay to do this. This is the place to do this.
I guess it stood for many thousands of years, so
We're
hopefully
not
you're
gonna
okay.
kill it.
But we're super excited. This is an incredible experience.
It is so neat to see because you can see all the individual stones here. These stones go between 2.5 and 13 tons each. And they've been sitting here for all these thousands of years. Of course, it used to have a covering.
Yeah, thanks for coming along with us. This is really exciting. A tiny statue of King Khufu can be found in the Cairo Museum of Egyptian Antiquities. The brother of Khufu and his wife can also be found immortalized in these famous statues of the Cairo Museum. The Great Sphinx is among the world's largest sculptures, measuring some 240 feet long and 66 feet high. It features a lion's body and a human head adorned with a royal headdress. So we made it down from the Giza Plateau where the Great Pyramid is and the other pyramids down into the valley where we see the Sphinx behind us.
Yeah, it's right behind us. And we've got, I believe, a little bit of space here for, even though there's a lot of people, and we're going to be able to go around it. You can see we're kind of on the side of it now, but it's huge. It's beautiful. And again, it's right here in context of the pyramid. So it's everything you've seen in the movies and in the books, but we're sitting right here with it. So we're going to go explore it now.
Yeah, and I will mention that there is a little bit more because you come first through the mortuary temple where they used to do mummify the body and everything before they came up here. And that's pretty cool it's made out of granite and it has these columns and that's pretty spectacular itself. And then you go through this corridor and then you see the Sphinx to the side and the pyramids in front of you. We thought we would mention one thing for you. We didn't realize until recently that the Sphinx was kind of in the valley and lower than everything else around it. So if you can see way down there, it goes very deep. Low, very deep.
Yeah.
And so you can imagine how it would have gotten covered over by sand for many years and forgotten for hundreds of years, as is what's happened. And now they were able to excavate it out and you can see the Sphinx around it.
Yeah, I had no idea. I always thought it was at ground level, but when you're here, you can actually see this is, I don't know, 3 or 4 stories down where the actual base of the Sphinx is. It's really cool.
And I think it's kind of conjecture, they're not sure, but they're fairly certain that this was natural formation at first, the rock itself, and then it was chiseled out of that natural formation. So it's not like blocks were brought here. It was chiseled from the existing
This
formation.
foundation was here, and they kind of used it.
Yeah, that took some great talent. While at the Giza Plateau, a camel ride is a must-do for every first-time Egypt traveler. I was hesitant to do so at first, but I'm so glad I did. The camel handler will take your picture afterwards.
Hey, there you are. How is it?
It's really cool. It's really high.
It is very high.
This is so high, but it's awesome.
The outside jumping.
Look, someone's coming.
We just got off the Camel camel ride.
We just did the camel ride. It was really cool.
You know, I wasn't exactly looking forward to it, but it blew my mind. It was so much fun, more fun than I thought it would be.
Getting on and getting off is a little intense, but once you're up there and you get used to it, it's pretty cool. You've really got to hold on.
You really, really
And
do.
it's a bumpy ride, but it was really cool.
It was worth it because you're like sailing over the sand. Well, we're leaving the Giza Plateau. It was everything we had hoped it would be. So no disappointments here. I was worried that, since I've been looking forward to this since I was 10 years old, that it could never live up to the expectations. But surprisingly,
It was pretty great.
it did. And I will definitely remember this the rest of my life.
Absolutely.
So if you get the chance to come to
I definitely
Egypt,
recommend it.
do it.
Unfortunately, the splendor of the Old Kingdom came to an end during the period of unrest called the First Intermediate Period. But one man brought them out of chaos. King Menhotep II is credited with reuniting Egypt and becoming the first pharaoh of what's called the Middle Kingdom. Mentuhotep II ascended Egypt's throne and made the city of Thebes the new capital. Thebes is now better known as the city of Luxor today. We traveled there to learn more about this period in history. Mentuhotep II was buried at the Theban necropolis area called Deir el-Bahri. His mortuary temple was one of Mentuhotep II's most ambitious building project. You can go there and see it like we did. His temple inspired several later temples, such as those of Hatshepsut, that we will visit later. Strange fact, some depictions of Mentuhotep II indicated that he suffered from elephantiasis, resulting in swollen legs. You can see a statue of him back at the Cairo Museum. Another pharaoh from the Middle Kingdom was Senusret I. He can also be seen in the Cairo Museum. During his reign, there were struggles against Nubia, which led to the conquest of parts of the country. Egypt's interest in Nubia would have been in its vast amounts of copper and gold. Nubia is located in today's southern Egypt and northern Sudan. The modern inhabitants of these areas of Egypt and Sudan still refer to themselves as Nubians. We will spend more time with them during a future video. Unfortunately, things got bad in Egypt again, and the Middle Kingdom came to an end. Many Middle Kingdom monuments are poorly preserved, so there's not much more from that time to see, but things were about to get very interesting. The New Kingdom soon begins, and many amazing structures that you can still see today were created. It is also the period of well-known pharaohs like Ramesses and King Tut. There was a vast expansion of what is called the Karnak Temple complex. Karnak comprises a vast mix of temples, pylons, chapels, and other buildings near Luxor. It is a must-see when coming to Egypt.
Oh my God, this is...
Back at the necropolis of Deir el-Bahri, there was an expansion as well. The pharaoh Hatshepsut was one of the few, and by far the most successful, women to rule Egypt as a pharaoh. She built a stunning temple there that we visited.
We just got here to the tomb of Queen Hatshepsut, and you can see it's really impressive. Way back there, you can see the people walking up like we're about to do here in a minute. It's huge, it's built into this mountain, and it's really awe-inspiring. Look forward to getting in there. We're ascending now up into the temple, and you can see it's built in the mountain here. And we just learned that the geologists and archaeologists are saying that because it's carved into a mountain here, it actually is at risk of collapsing in the next 50 years unless they do something. We're ascending now into the top of this beautiful place. You can see here. There are a lot of statues. Well, we're outside now after going inside, and inside's cool, but frankly, outside is much more impressive. This is an incredible place for the queen that declared herself king. Absolutely a great visit and worth the ascent up the stairs to check it out.
But other pharaohs tried something entirely new. Thutmose I was the first pharaoh to be buried in the Valley of the Kings. Before that, pharaohs were buried in pyramids. A pyramid was the least safe place for valuables, and almost all of them were robbed. Thutmose was smart enough to learn from the past, so he decided to hide it and keep the location secret. The Valley of the Kings has around 60 tombs of pharaohs. We visited 3 of them, but if you give yourself enough time during your visit, then you can see more. The most famous is the tomb of King Tutankhamun. It was a thrilling adventure for us to descend into his tomb. In a separate video, we will share more of what we saw there, as well as video from the other 2 beautiful tombs that we saw. Not far from Karnak is the Temple of Luxor that you must visit as well. It's just at the other end of the newly restored Valley of the Sphinxes. Luxor does not boast the same depth that Karnak does. Karnak is significantly older and was impacted by many pharaohs, whereas Luxor reflects just a few of ancient Egypt's leaders, including Tutankhamun. We will explore more of Luxor and Karnak in a future video. Something else that we were excited to see in the area were the Colossi of Memnon. They are 2 massive stone statues of the pharaoh Amenhotep III. They have stood there since 1350 BC.
We just left the Valley of the Queens, which was amazing, and on our way back to the boat, we stopped at the Colossi of Memnon. And this is all that's left of a temple that was here a long time ago that was lost to an earthquake. And it's funny because there was a lot of belief that these 2 colossi and all of these statues here would actually sing, but it was just something in the wind, and that's just an old wives' tale.
Other great leaders of the New Kingdom included Ramesses II and his wife Nefertari, and other pharaohs calling themselves Ramesses. We may cover them in another video. These pharaohs fought constantly among themselves, leading to outside influencers taking control, and the glorious New Kingdom declined. One of those influencers is none other than Alexander the Great. He took over Egypt, and his line led to the period of Egyptian history called the Ptolemaic period. The most notable leader of the period is Cleopatra herself. Some absolutely stunning temples were built during this time, and we think they are the hidden gems of Egypt. Put the pyramids and the Sphinx aside and join us on visits to these places. First up is the Philae temple complex. This is an island-based temple complex that was actually dismantled and moved from one island to another because of the construction of the nearby Aswan-Lo Dam. Philae was believed to be one of the burial places of the great Egyptian god Osiris.
But we're at the Philae complex. This is the Philae temple and other temples behind me. It was actually moved from right over there, where we'll show you in a minute, where the original temple was because it flooded.
Another unique temple of this time was the Edfu temple. It is one of the best preserved shrines in Egypt. We took a carriage up to the temple and walked through its magnificent gates. The Temple of Edfu is the largest temple dedicated to gods Horus and Hathor. Still another amazing temple of this time was the Kom Ombo Temple. The building is unique because of its double design. The southern half of the temple was dedicated to the crocodile god Sobek. Meanwhile, the northern part of the temple was dedicated to the falcon god Horus. A few of the 300 crocodile mummies discovered in the vicinity are displayed in the Crocodile Museum on the premises.
This has been a great tour. We learned a lot. There's a lot of things associated with medicine here. We actually saw surgical instruments and all kind of things that were being used before Christ.
The final temple built during this time is one of our favorites. It's one of the best preserved temple complexes in Egypt. The dominant building in the complex is the Temple of Hathor. The temple originally housed the famous Zodiac of Dendera. You may remember us talking about it in our video on the Paris Louvre. The original was taken from the temple and placed there. Cleopatra herself commissioned some decoration on the walls of the complex. We saw so much during our visit to the region, but this video is too long already, so see the rest of what we saw in the next video.